Yo, what's up guys, it's Talon. Today I'm going to be talking about how to roam on support, and I'm going to be going over an example of how I utilize macro in roaming as a support to really carry a game that didn't start off the best in terms of the lane phase, and I kind of noticed early on that my Ezreal is not really playing very well, not a very good player, and then we kind of play around that fact. So I'm just going to skip through different parts of the game. I'm not going to be focused on the specific mechanical plays as much as I'm focused, again, on the macro aspect of the support role and kind of how I play. So I already noticed that my Ezreal tries to go into a bush level 1 and wards it. I can already identify that he's a bad player from doing this. The reason that I know that it's a bad player as soon as I watch them do this is because if the ward gets killed, if the enemy happened to be in that bush, which they very likely could have been, we would lose level 2, they would get it first because they get the XP from killing the ward. So anytime that I watch an ADC do that, I already know they're pretty bad. Then I identify he doesn't walk up as much as he could to auto attack here and is not paying attention to my positioning when I walk up at Melio. And so we still win the trade on Melio, which I knew we were going to win regardless. But we don't win it nearly as hard as we could have. We should have been able to force the Melio flash. And from there, I'm already identifying, again in my mind, this player is not very good unless we end up getting some early kills in lane. I'm not going to overly play around them. As you're going to notice, I want us to push this wave, so I try to push this wave with him really quickly because my goal is to look for a ward now. I'm obviously going to fish for a hook here, but I just want to get the wave pushed so that I can then rotate for a ward. Now he again is getting poked out of it because he's not the smartest player, but this gives me identification of where the enemy jungle is. I now know that the enemy jungle is probably on the wolves at that point or on the raptors, and will then come to blue side soon. We then see them on the map, and they are indeed coming to the blue side. And so from this, I understand that the enemy jungle is matching our teammate's pathing, and so I want to try to push this wave so that I can help my teammate on the scuttle. We notice the scuttle ends up getting taken, and so obviously I can't end up actually helping there, but the idea there was that I would be able to rotate and potentially help. And then we're trying to bait because our jungler is here, so we're trying to fight, but the Ezreal gets poked out way too hard. It ends up not flashing early enough, and then we end up putting ourselves in a really bad position. A lot of, I don't really think this is entirely my fault. I would make the same play again if I was in the same situation, but it ends up turning out quite poorly. And we notice that our Ezreal is not very good. And so my decision making at this point is to go towards mid lane out of base. Oftentimes you can roam out of base if you die or you just recall naturally, because you have some time before the wave really matters. So I'm going to pay attention to a few things that are important to note here as to why I could roam. The first one, the enemy already recalled in bot lane, so I know they're not an immediate threat to our turret. The second one, my Ezreal is also recalled, so he's not going to be pushing up super far and need my help. There's no real other place for me to be, and there's a Twisted Fate who's pushed quite far up. And then I see that my Singed is also coming, so I know that I'll have a potential kill opportunity if I lantern him to me. And so for all of these reasons out of base, I knew that I don't necessarily need to help my Ezreal right away. He's going to be safe enough. And that's a typical thing you're looking for on a roam. You're looking to see how safe is your teammate, and is there anyone out of position on the enemy team somewhere else. Obviously, we find the Twisted Fate out of position here. We hit them with the hook flash, and then we have the lantern to then hit our Singed. So again, now you might be asking, where do I want to go now? I just got a kill in lane. I don't have very much gold, so I'm not going to recall. What do I do? Well, I could go to bot lane, where my Ezreal is very safe. He has the ability to escape. He has long range to farm, and they have an enchanter, which enchanters generally aren't super threatening early on in the lane phase, especially like Emilio, for example. Or I could rotate to top side, where you can't really see it here, but Riven is quite low HP, Aatrox is quite low HP, and my jungler is pathing towards there. So generally, I want to base my roams around my jungle pathing, around enemy HP bars, and the enemy jungle location. We know that the enemy jungle was still bot side because we saw him there just a moment ago, and so I know I have an opportunity to potentially roam, and so I look for the roam here, and then because I'm just a goat, I KS, like good support, I steal the kill from my teammate, because that's just what you're supposed to do. Obviously, I didn't mean to take the kill there, but it happens sometimes. It's not the end of the world. And so now that I have my boots, it would be a pretty good time to look for a potential recall. And so we do end up recalling because I have now pretty strong items. And then I can look to rotate somewhere else out of base. Here I see Singed making a play. So again, I'm paying attention to the mid laner, to the jungle's rotations, to the enemy rotations, all of these things. I know since jungler was bot side for a long time, their jungler will now be top side, so he's not going to counter gank us. My Singed is obviously rotating, and so going bot side makes sense. The enemy are also pushed up, and so I have the potential angle for a gank to work out here. And so then we'll skip through and see what ended up happening. I skipped a bit far, but it's fine. And so then we end up rotating, putting ourselves in a position to help our teammates, getting the kill on Tristana, and then getting the kill on Melio. So again, what should I do at this point? Enemy jungle again, I know is top side. the enemy are dead in bot lane, so there's nothing that's going to happen in bot lane. There's no reason for me to stay bot lane after getting the wave. I can get the wave to get myself some gold, and then I should rotate most likely with my jungler or wherever I now see it play. So I would start roaming towards mid after this, and then I would see based on where my teammates rotate to what I can do. And so you're going to see, again, I'm going to go and push out a wave, and then it turns out that the Twisted Fate ults onto us, and then just, I don't know what he was doing. He's, you know, a unique individual, and then we end up obviously killing him. And then again, I'm going to stay and push out the wave with my teammate. So once you roam to a lane, you can often push the lane with your teammate, and then once you've pushed the lane, you then can start rotating. So here again, I'm now going to look for recall because I do have a little bit of an item, and then I'm going to roam once again to wherever I see a potential kill angle or where I see people pushed up. My Ezreal is not very pushed up, and so I don't think that I should roam there. Mid lane, I can potentially go through mid lane and then rotate to top side with my teammate, and then now I see top side where the enemy jungle ganks, and so I want to go there because I know I can potentially help my teammate because he is getting ganked right now, and they might overextend and try to kill him. Riven is also low. And so again, you can see on the map, I'm always paying attention to where's my mid laner, where's my jungle, as well as enemy jungle, who can I help the most, who is safest, and who doesn't need my help, all of these different things. And then I'm always putting myself in a position on the map where I can impact various lanes. I've literally been to mid, top, and bot lane frequently this entire game. And that's why I have all 7 kill participation. You can see I've participated in every single kill that's happened on all parts of the map. And now we are zoning the Riven. This is another thing you can do, which I think is very important to note. After a gank works out, just like I said, you can push the lane with your teammates. You can also help them push the tower and continue to zone the enemy off of CS. So you can see here, I'm not letting Riven recall because I'm trying to deny him even more gold under this tower. Even now you're going to see I'm going to continue to bully him, and I'm really going to make him hate me. And then you're going to watch just how much I make him hate me in just a second here, which, you know, this is pretty rude of me. I'm not going to lie. I was feeling myself here. Somehow it worked out. It was kind of dangerous, but, you know, we take risks sometimes, and even if I did end up dying there, it wouldn't have been that bad because I still denied him hundreds and hundreds of gold, as well as providing my Aatrox hundreds and hundreds of gold and getting myself gold as well. So even if I did end up dying there with that risky play, I delay his tempo. I get a lot of gold to myself and deny him a lot of gold anyway. But obviously it did end up working out. Little outplay there, which we'll take. And then this allows my Aatrox to have time to rotate. And you can see how all of these plays end up impacting one another, because now Aatrox gets a double kill on bot side because we ruin the tempo of Riven and kill the enemy jungle while getting our Aatrox ahead, and then he's able to spread that lead. So oftentimes these leads that you're able to spread to your teammates can then go to other parts of the map as well. And we try to get the Melio there, but we don't quite end up killing them. Now that I have my Warbugs, I want to recall again. So that's another thing. When you have those item spikes or you're low health or low mana, that's when you're going to recall and then find where to rotate next out of base. So where am I going to go now? I'm going to go to the Herald side because that's the next objective that's up. Playing around objectives, around kill angles, enemy jungle rotations, again, all of these things that we're speaking about give you kind of an idea of where you want to roam to. And so I know my teammate already has it, and so I'm trying to now lantern them towards mid lane and look for a potential play on the enemy mid laner, because I'm always just looking for where we can make the next play on the map. And here we obviously find that it is in mid lane, and we're able to get a kill over to our Singe. So you can just see, again, I'm literally going to any part of the map where I see an angle to kill. I'm not just permanently going on my Ezreal. And an important thing to note as well about roam timers is paying attention when you're leaving your ADC to what they're going to get punished by or how they're going to be punished. Ezreal is a very safe champion because he has long range and he has a third ability, which is obviously a dash. You can also pay attention to whether or not your teammates have flashes up or whether or not they have exhausts, things like this. And if the enemy team are enchanters, usually champs like Melio, Lulu, Yuumi, they can't punish as hard when you roam. But if you roam against an Alistar, Alistar is going to dive your teammate because he's so tanky and can take turrets for a very long time. So paying attention to the actual enemy comp as well as your teammate as well kind of allows you to understand when you can and can't roam. And so once again here, you're going to see I see another wave coming up. And so potentially I should try to push it with my teammate before I recall, which is exactly what I look to do. I want to push this wave and then I can look to roam or recall or do other things. I'm not just roaming on the middle of a wave because that wave is going to be pushed by the enemy and then they're going to pressure our turret. But now that the wave is gone, that's when I use my time to recall and look for a potential play somewhere else on the map. I'm going to take a sip of water because I've been talking for like 8 straight minutes. But yeah. Little note for build here too. I end up deciding later on in the game that I want to build Frozen Heart because it turns out they're actually full AD because it's an ADTF build. So that's just a small build thing too. If they're full build or if they're full AD, they have auto attackers like Twisted Fate, Tristana, and whatever. You can end up going for Frozen Heart. It's a really good item. Once again, here you saw how out of base I'm going to where I perceive potential action to occur. since I had pushed that bot lane wave with my teammate, and once again, Ezreal is safe, and he's also pretty bad at the game, we've noted, we end up finding an angle to rotate towards one of our stronger members of the team once again, utilizing that enchant, the Magnetron enchant, to then go onto the minions and kill the Twisted Fate again. Now out of base, I'm probably going to rotate towards mid lane, since if you don't really know where to go out of base, you can just go towards the mid lane and look for a potential play, and then rotate through from mid lane after pushing the wave with your teammate to whichever side of the map you see angles on. So here, my teammate, for example, is going to invade their blue buff, and so I'm going to end up rotating with them. Again, just making plays with my mid jungle around my stronger points of the map, which are basically everyone apart from Ezreal, because everyone else is doing well now that we've really established, you know, a big advantage in all the other lanes. And so then we look for the kill on the Mundo here. We do end up getting him, but the fight turns a bit dicey. We end up being able to turn on the Twisted Fate, and I think we do kill him. No, we don't quite kill him, but we do get his flash out and make him blow a lot of stuff. And then we know we can potentially make a dive angle here. I think it gets a bit messy, but we definitely try to make something happen. Again, when you're making plays with your teammates, you can usually find nice rotations and things like that. We use our third ability backwards to cancel the Riven Dash, and then our teammates killed them. Sadly, we missed the hook there, so the dive ends up being a bit more messy here. And you can see this is where it kind of goes not as great, where Viego ends up dying. I should have tanked the turret aggro for a bit longer. That was the mistake that I made there in that situation. But in the end, it still doesn't turn out too bad. When you're making plays with your teammates and rotating with them in situations like this, after you've gotten them ahead already, even if you make some misplays, you're still generally going to be in an okay position. And so then in the mid game, where do you want to roam now? Well, in the mid game, you're going to want to start rotating towards objectives. So we see that the dragon's coming up, for example, and so I'm trying to set up vision before the objective so that I can successfully get vision and potentially pick someone on the enemy team or something like this. And so you're going to see I'm going to go up to the bush here, again, playing around my Singed because he's quite strong. And we're looking for a potential play onto the Tristana here, excuse me. So then we don't get the flash, but we end up going for here on the Melio, and we do catch them, so that's obviously great. And now we're just able to get the objective pretty straightforward because we managed to, again, set up for an objective early. I was aware of it before the enemy because we got the recall off faster than them, and then it allows us to set up for the objective and kind of snowball our tempo that way. Now that we have gotten the dragon, it's important to start making plays on the top side of the map because that's where the Baron is going to spawn, and that's where the enemy are likely going to make plays on. So as soon as we get that dragon, we immediately go to the other side of the map to try to kill the Mundo here, which we do successfully do. And I think you guys kind of get the gist of it, but I just want to reiterate some of the main points of roaming and impacting the lane. When you notice that maybe your ADC isn't as good, that's going to be your first incentive to potentially look for more roams. Alongside that, you got to take into account the safety that your ADC has as a champion, as well as how likely the enemy are to dive your teammate or to punish them hard in lane. For example, if the enemy laners have really high range or have really, you know, a very tanky support who can dive your teammate, then you're going to want to make sure to help them out a bit more. When you roam to lanes, make sure that you're ending up pushing the waves after the ganks work out most often so that you can then push that wave and be able to rotate with your teammate somewhere else or make more plays. Generally speaking, you want to rotate with your mid or your jungle if possible, because obviously more people on the gank is going to make it more likely to work out. Paying attention to enemy jungle pathing as well, making sure that you set yourself up for potential counter ganks, or you gank a lane where the enemy jungle is not, so that you know it's higher likelihood of working out. These are a lot of the main things that I'm paying attention to, as well as the waves and the enemy HP, my teammates' HP. All of these types of things really allow me. And I know it's stuttered a couple times, the video. Sometimes that happens, but I mean, I don't think it's too bad. Just every once in a while, a little bit of stuttering, so sorry about that. But those are a lot of the main things, and then we kind of just have the later parts of the game, which I'll just talk briefly about because that's not really the main point of this video. But we'll just kind of talk over again. Now that we have this lead and we're trying to snowball it, I'm starting to rotate with my teammates more in their jungle and making potential plays when I see them. Now we do end up allowing them to split push more than we should have. We should have probably had a teammate covering that. But you can see how I utilize our advantage to really get vision in their jungle pretty deeply and try to look for potential kills on them. So we go for a flash hook on the Melio, blow their flash here. Then we get another hook onto the Melio, really making the Melio not have a fun time playing the game. And then somehow, I don't know how I don't die here. I also don't know how that third ability missed. I was like right next to him. But yeah, somehow I live here. And so it doesn't turn out too badly. It was a little messy again. But you can see how once we're ahead, that's when we're really looking to make these more aggressive plays that sometimes do get a bit messy because we can snowball our lead further and we can make these more like kind of aggressive plays in their jungle And the difference between playing, because normally I tell you guys, play really, more passive and safe and consistent when you're ahead, and play more aggressive when you're behind. But oftentimes when you're a tank support and you have the numbers advantage, even if you are ahead, you can make those more aggressive plays because they're likely to work out. And so while it is important to make safe plays, it's also important to take opportunities like when they present themselves. And so in a situation like this, when I see an opportunity to invade their jungle with my team and I know that their Twisted Fate's somewhere else, I am going to take that opportunity despite the potential risks that could occur. An additional thing that's important to note as well in the later parts of the game in terms of roaming is trying to rotate towards both where the enemy turrets are alive and where your turrets are alive, and trying to protect your turrets and take down their turrets. So say that the enemy topside turret was alive and none of the other ones were alive, it'd be kind of important for me to try to play a bit more around that side of the map when I can, in order to potentially get turrets and snowball our gold lead. And it's important for me right now in this game to rotate towards mid whenever possible and keep this lane pushing so that we do not lose the mid lane turret. Now I just want to make sure that I set up for the objective because the soul is spawning, and so you're gonna see I'm gonna use our priority on the lane to get the first move on the turret, or on the objective, and then I'm just going to hover a bush and provide my team with vision. We end up just luckily hooking the bush and getting that Twisted Fate flash out early in the fight. And again, I'm just kind of creating space between myself and the carries of the enemy, looking for potential hooks on their carries. You see I'm not even focused on the Mundo. I was literally trying to hook someone over the wall. I'm just paying attention to potentially trying to find a pick onto a carry, rather than just focusing their tank with CC. And then obviously it gets a bit messy here. We miss a few hooks, but I flashed onto their carry, which is something that's important to note as well. Tristana was the only really strong person in this fight, and so I was targeting her when I could, but it ends up getting, again, very messy here with some mechanical misplays from me in terms of missing hooks, and our teammates not making the best plays. But in the end, it still turns out fine. We killed 3 of them, and only 2 of us died. So we end up getting the dragon and getting the soul nonetheless. Again, you can see there's plenty of mechanical mistakes and over-aggressive plays that we do make in this game that make the game harder, both as a team and as an individual. But because we made so many plays early on roaming to get our team ahead, it's kind of fine. And so you can just see the benefit of roaming. Then we utilize that advantage to get the Baron here. We use the Baron really aggressively where I'm trying to let them kill me because all I want is to draw their attention as the Elder Dragon is being taken by my team. And so I'm just trying to CC them. I accidentally knocked the Mundo the wrong way, but we're essentially just trying to zone them off and distract them for as long as possible while we get the Elder Dragon. Then we end up getting the Elder Dragon again, gets a bit messy, but then we win the game here. So again, not a perfect game by any stretch of the imagination, but just kind of showcases a really good game in terms of roaming and impacting all of the different lanes. So I hope that was helpful for you guys. If you're interested in coaching, I coach people for $15 an hour. Just DM me on Discord, Talon1169, or through the link in the description. And I noticed that like 50% of you guys aren't subscribed, so if you want to subscribe, that'd be awesome. And see you guys in the next video.